In a White House press release, President Joe Biden announced his $5.8 trillion budget for the fiscal year of 2023, which includes changes to Social Security policy, additional military spending in the face of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, domestic funding for police departments, and new taxes on the wealthiest Americans. What's going on, guys? Josh Baldwin here from Mad Money Millennial, bringing you the latest news and most straightforward information out there. Now let's go ahead and hop right into what changes you can expect next year as part of President Joe Biden's 2023 budget, which includes $14.8 billion allocated specifically to Social Security, a 14% increase from 2021. Now let's first start out by getting into the specific parts of the budget proposal that have to do with Social Security. Now, if you recall from last year, there were several bills that were introduced in Congress that were meant to change Social Security services and improve them for the better. This included the SSI Restoration Act of 2021 and the Social Security 2100 Act, among others. And as many of you are aware, these bills did not pass. The Social Security recipients that were meant to receive these improved benefits did not receive them. The services that President Joe Biden originally promised were not delivered. Now, President Joe Biden's proposed budget for 2023 aims to give the Social Security Administration more funding to improve its services. Biden wants to ramp up discretionary funding for the Social Security Administration in his proposed 2023 budget by $1.8 billion for a total of $14.8 billion. Now, that's a 14% increase from funding levels enacted last year. Under the proposed $14.8 billion budget, $1.6 billion more would go towards improving the agency's services, while efforts to protect the program's integrity would get $224 million more than last year. Now, the additional $1.6 billion for services would go to things like field offices, state disability determination services, and teleservice centers. In addition, the funds would also be used to add staff to help reduce wait times and speed up the processing of disability claims. The proposal would also enable the agency to make changes to help ensure everyone who needs its services can access them, including people who are homeless, children with disabilities, or adults with intellectual or mental disabilities. Now, the $224 million increase from 2021 for protecting the program's integrity would bring the total to $1.8 billion. Those funds would ensure the program is providing the correct benefits to those who qualify, and that the program's funds are being spent responsibly. That money would also go to help to support the investigation and prosecution of fraud. President Biden's new budget proposal also comes as the trust funds on which Social Security relies to pay benefits are projected to be depleted in 2034. At that point, 78% of promised benefits will be payable. So that's another worry that a lot of Social Security recipients had, is that the trust fund reserves that provide the Social Security to recipients on a yearly basis would run out in 2034. So it was essentially mandatory for President Joe Biden to come up with a plan of attack to solve this issue and to make sure that Social Security beneficiaries would still receive their benefits and at no point in time would be at risk of losing or no longer having access to these benefits. Now let's check out some of the highlights from President Joe Biden's 2023 budget proposal in some other areas besides Social Security, such as raising taxes on billionaires and corporations, increasing spending on the military, and domestic priorities such as affordable housing and supply chain issues. And let's start out by watching this video clip that shows President Joe Biden first introducing and unveiling his 2023 budget proposal.
Well, the budget I'm releasing today sends a clear message to the American people that what we value. First, fiscal responsibility. Second, safety and security. And thirdly, the investments needed to build a better America. The Trump tax cuts added $2 trillion in deficit spending and largely helped the rich and the largest corporations. Under my plan, as I said, no one making less than $400,000 a year will pay additional single penny in taxes. No one. If you don't make 400 grand, you're not going to pay a single penny in additional federal taxes. And the wealthy and corporation will finally begin to pay their fair share. The second value my budget reflects is security. Security at home and security abroad.
Now, I'm not going to go over every single detail of President Joe Biden's 149-page budget proposal, but we are going to go over some of the highlights of the important ones and a description about each one. So the first one that I wanted to go over is that the budget will be boosting spending by 7%. Now, the most notable spending increase was President Biden's $773 billion military proposal, a 10% boost for the Pentagon amid concerns about the war in Ukraine and China's ambitions. The budget also includes more than $17 billion to crack down on gun trafficking and nearly $70 billion for the FBI to drive down violent crime. Now, to pay for it, he proposes increasing taxes on the rich and on corporations. Mr. Biden called for an assortment of tax increases, highlighted by a new minimum tax on billionaires. That proposal, which needs congressional approval, would require that American households worth more than $100 million pay a rate of at least 20% on their income, as well as unrealized gains in the value of their liquid assets, such as stocks and bonds, which can accumulate value for years but are taxed only when they are sold. President Biden's budget request also includes a total of $45 billion to address climate change, an increase of $16.7 billion over the 2021 level. Now, most of that money would go to the 5 major agencies tasked with reducing pollution, expanding conservation, researching clean energy technologies, and preparing for and responding to extreme weather events. Now, the next highlight that I wanted to go over is that there is a new dedication to reducing the federal deficit. Now, the budget request aims to shrink the federal budget deficit by $1 trillion over a decade, as the administration looks to mitigate the impact of America's years-long borrowing. The budget estimates that deficits totaling $14.4 trillion over the next decade, down from the current estimate of $15.4 trillion. Now, it also notes that the budget deficit this year is on track to decline by more than $1 trillion, which would be the largest single-year decline on record. And then some of that would be coming from higher taxes on the rich and corporations, with about $1.5 trillion of that revenue coming directly towards deficit reduction. President Biden's budget also pushes for more pandemic preparedness and local public health spending. President Biden's proposed budget for the Department of Health and Human Services emphasizes these things because of the concerns about future pathogens that could complicate progress against the coronavirus or even threaten a different pandemic altogether. Nearly $82 billion is proposed for the department over 5 years to prevent, detect, and respond to emerging biological catastrophes. Funds that would help speed the time between when scientists recognize a new virus and when vaccines and treatments are deployed, a key goal in the White House's new pandemic preparedness plan. This budget would expand clinical trial infrastructure and manufacturing capacity as well. Alright guys, those were some of the main highlights from President Joe Biden's recently announced 2023 budget proposal. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please leave a like, comment down below any questions you might have for me, and of course subscribe. Stay safe, stay hustling, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.